today with Remy Germain Jollies on 24/01/2026. United States President Donald Trump has threatened Canada with the introduction of new import tariffs, amounting to 100% on all Canadian goods. According to Trump, these measures would be imposed if Canada were to conclude a trade agreement with China. He made this statement on his social media platform, Truth Social. Trump warned that Canadian Prime Minister Mark Carney should not assume that Canada can become, in his words, a delivery hub for Chinese products intended for the United States market. Trump stated that if Canada were to reach a deal with China, the country would be immediately subjected to an import tariff of 100% on all Canadian goods and production entering the United States. Recently, Canada and China agreed to reduce certain import tariffs on each other's products after a prolonged period of rising trade tensions. Beijing pledged to lower the tax on Canadian canola from 100% to 15%. In return, Canada agreed to apply a reduced import tariff of 6.1% on 49,000 electric vehicles imported from China, a category that would normally face a tariff of 100%. Rising tensions. The renewed cooperation between China and Canada followed a period in which the United States, under Trump's leadership, adopted an increasingly hostile stance toward its northern neighbor. Trump imposed an import tariff of 35% on Canadian goods, despite Canada being one of the largest trading partners of the United States. A significant portion of bilateral trade remains exempt due to a North American Free Trade Agreement. Nevertheless, Canada has also been affected by broader import tariffs imposed by the Trump administration on all foreign steel, aluminum, and automobiles. Tensions between Trump and Prime Minister Carney escalated further after the World Economic Forum held in Switzerland last week. During a speech, Carney warned against powerful nations imposing their will through import tariffs and using the economy as a political weapon, without mentioning Trump by name. Later, at the same event, Trump stated that Canada exists only by the grace of the United States. He also withdrew Canada's invitation to participate in the Peace Council that he himself had established. My next news is, the European Union is preparing new measures that could force Chinese car brands to shift their strategy by producing more gasoline-powered vehicles for the European market. What has long been considered a major loophole in European regulations now appears to be closing. Chinese automakers entered Europe like a whirlwind, rapidly challenging the established automotive industry. In response, the European Union introduced import tariffs on electric vehicles from China. Chinese manufacturers reacted calmly, responding with what amounted to a workaround. They increased shipments of plug-in hybrid vehicles and electric vehicles equipped with range extenders, as these categories are currently not subject to additional import taxes. This strategy appears to have been successful. In the year 2025, exports of Chinese hybrid vehicles to the European Union increased by 155%. By contrast, sales of fully electric Chinese vehicles in Europe rose by only 12%. As a result, hybrid vehicles now account for roughly one-third of all Chinese car exports. According to the business magazine The Economist, if current trends continue, hybrid vehicles are expected to surpass both electric vehicles and gasoline-powered cars by the middle of 2026. The presence of Chinese hybrid cars is also clearly visible in the Netherlands. Dutch sales figures for Chinese brands show that the two best-selling models, the BYD Seal-U and the Lynk & Co 01, are vehicles offered as plug-in hybrids. The Seal-U is available exclusively as a DMI version, while the Lynk & Co 01 is always sold as a hybrid. European Union targets hybrids as well. For some time, Chinese brands have been able to rely on hybrid vehicles as their main entry point into the European market. That situation may soon change. French European Commissioner Stéphane Séjourné outlined his plans in an interview with the German outlet Euractiv. He stated that he has raised the issue of Chinese hybrid vehicles on several occasions, and now appears ready to take concrete steps. His reasoning is straightforward. If the European Union wants to protect European manufacturers and ensure a level playing field in the market for electric vehicles, it becomes difficult to justify why similar rules would not apply to hybrid vehicles imported from China. Possible tariffs on hybrids. Séjourné favors applying the same measures that currently affect fully electric vehicles. At present, These include tariffs ranging from 7.8% to 35.3%, depending on the manufacturer, on top of a standard import duty of 10%. However, the timing is far from ideal. Relations between China and the European Union had only recently begun to improve. After lengthy negotiations, both sides were reportedly close to a compromise. As an alternative to tariffs, Chinese manufacturers could agree to minimum import prices for electric vehicles sold in the European Union. Both protective mechanisms, tariffs and minimum pricing, are expected to remain available as policy options. What remains unclear is when any new regulation would actually come into force. At present, these plans are still exploratory and part of internal discussions, not a final decision. There is also significant uncertainty about definitions. What exactly qualifies as a hybrid vehicle? Would the rules apply only to plug-in hybrids, or also to mild hybrids, full hybrids, and even extended-range electric vehicles? This lack of clarity makes the issue legally and practically complex. In summary, after targeting fully electric Chinese cars, the European Union is now preparing to impose additional taxes on hybrid vehicles from China as well. The key question remains: what new strategy will Chinese manufacturers adopt next? Could it even come to pass that European consumers who prefer gasoline-powered cars end up buying Chinese vehicles precisely because those models are not subject to import tariffs? My next news is, Iran has warned the United States that any move against the country's long-standing supreme leader, Ayatollah Ali Khamenei, would result in a total war. The warning follows calls by former United States President Donald Trump for regime change in Tehran. Why it matters? It is time to look for new leadership in Iran, Trump said in an interview with Politico published on Saturday. The Republican leader had previously warned Iran's top officials that he was prepared to attack the country unless he could be assured that Iranian authorities were no longer killing protesters. Demonstrations have spread across Iran since late December. Trump told reporters late last week that he had learned from a reliable source that the killing in Iran had stopped. However, Reza Pahlavi, the exiled crown prince of Iran and son of the last Shah who was overthrown by clerics in 1979, said that the bloodshed has not stopped. Protests over Iran's struggling economy have gripped the country for weeks and have grown into one of the most serious challenges, if not the strongest expression of resistance, faced by Iran's theocratic rulers in decades. Thousands of people are believed to have died, although obtaining reliable figures remains difficult due to a nationwide communications blackout. Background: if the Iranian people are facing hardship and difficulty in their lives, one of the main reasons is the long-standing hostility and the inhumane sanctions imposed by the government of the United States and its allies, Iranian President Masoud Pezeshkian said Sunday in a message posted on social media. Any aggression against the supreme leader of our country is equivalent to a total war against the Iranian nation, Pezeshkian added. In a separate statement, Ayatollah Khamenei said that Iran's leaders do not intend to lead the country into war, but warned that criminals inside Iran and around the world would not go unpunished. Iranian officials have repeatedly accused the United States of responsibility for the violence seen on Iran's streets for more than 3 weeks, blaming Washington and what they described as terrorists. An unnamed Iranian official told the news agency Reuters on Sunday that at least 5,000 deaths had been confirmed by authorities. Approximately 500 of those killed were members of the security forces, the official said. The United States-based human rights activists news agency, known as Hrana, reported on Sunday that nearly 4,000 people had been killed, while close to 9,000 suspected deaths were still under investigation. According to Hrana, more than 2,100 people have been seriously injured, and more than 24,000 individuals have been detained. A separate report published by the British Sunday Times over the weekend claimed the death toll was at least 16,500. Khamenei himself has publicly acknowledged that several thousand people have been killed. Trump stated that the United States was ready to help the demonstrations and urged protesters to remain present in the streets. The government in Tehran continues to struggle with the aftermath of a short but devastating war with Israel in June 2025, which ended shortly after the United States carried out attacks on multiple Iranian nuclear facilities. The most recent large-scale protests in Iran before the current unrest took place in 2022, following the death of 22-year-old Mahsa Amini, a young Kurdish woman detained by Iran's so-called morality police for allegedly wearing her hijab incorrectly. According to United Nations experts and human rights organizations, more than 550 people were killed during that period. My next news is, former United States President Donald Trump responded on Saturday afternoon on his social media platform Truth Social to a fatal shooting in Minneapolis involving federal immigration and customs enforcement agents and a 37-year-old man. Much of what you are now seeing is a cover-up to hide this theft and fraud. The mayor and the governor are inciting rebellion with their pompous, dangerous, and arrogant rhetoric, Trump wrote. Instead, these sanctimonious political fools should be looking for the billions of dollars that have been stolen from the people of Minnesota and the United States of America. The context: according to statements from the Department of Homeland Security, the man allegedly drew a handgun on United States border enforcement personnel during what officials described as a targeted operation. Federal agents said he resisted violently, after which one agent opened fire. Emergency medical responders attempted to revive the man at the scene, but he was pronounced dead shortly afterward. Minneapolis Police Chief Brian O'Hara told reporters that the victim was believed to be a United States citizen with no criminal record aside from traffic violations, and that he legally owned a firearm. Authorities have not officially released the man's name, but the Minneapolis Star-Tribune identified him as Alex Jeffrey Preddy. According to state records, he obtained a nursing license in the year 2021, which remained valid through 2026. What you need to know: Trump demanded on Truth Social that Americans let immigration and customs enforcement personnel do their job. This is the shooter's gun, loaded with 2 additional full magazines and ready for use. What is really going on here? Where is the local police? Why were they not allowed to protect the immigration and customs enforcement agents? Did the mayor, together with the governor, order them to stand down? Trump wrote. It is being stated that many of these agents were not allowed to do their jobs, that immigration and customs enforcement had to protect itself, which is not an easy task. Why does Ilhan Omar have $34 million in her account? And where are the tens of billions of dollars that were stolen from the once great state of Minnesota? We are there because of massive financial fraud, with billions of dollars missing, and illegal criminals who were allowed to infiltrate the state due to the Democrats' open borders policies. Trump continued. We want that money back, and we want it back now. The fraudsters who stole the money are going to prison, where they belong. This is nothing more than a massive bank robbery. Much of what you are now seeing is a cover-up to hide this theft and fraud. The mayor and the governor are inciting rebellion with their pompous, dangerous, and arrogant rhetoric. Instead, these sanctimonious political fools should be searching for the billions of dollars stolen from the people of Minnesota and the United States of America. Let immigration and customs enforcement personnel do their job. 12,000 illegal criminal aliens, many of them violent, have been arrested and removed from Minnesota. If they were still there, you would be seeing something far worse than what you are witnessing today. Trump concluded in one of his posts. In a follow-up post just minutes later, Trump added that this was, among other things, a cover-up for the billions of dollars that were stolen from the once great, but soon to be great again, state of Minnesota. Reactions. Minnesota Governor Tim Walz wrote on the platform X. I just spoke with the White House following yet another horrific shooting by federal agents this morning. Minnesota has had enough. This is disgusting. The president must end this operation. Remove the thousands of violent, untrained agents from Minnesota. Now, my next news is, Haitian security forces have launched a coordinated attack on the stronghold of gang leader Jimmy Cheressier, also known as Barbecue, as authorities report progress in their efforts to reclaim the capital, Port-au-Prince, from criminal gangs. According to Haitian officials, the latest operation targeted a base controlled by Cheressier, the leader of the Vive Anson terrorist group. The spokesperson for the Haitian National Police, France Lerbours, said the operation involved several special police units. At least 6 gang members were killed during the operation. He added that several others were injured but managed to flee the area. Police said the operation resulted in the seizure of a significant cache of weapons and ammunition, as well as 5 drones. In addition, officers recovered uniforms belonging to members of a specialized police unit known as UDMO, bearing the rank insignia of police inspector. Several bulletproof vests, tear gas grenades, and a plastic bag containing a small amount of cash were also confiscated. Meanwhile, Haiti's Minister of Justice and Public Security, Tariq, stated that the recapture of the capital is already underway. He said that the support of private security companies, described as mercenaries, has made law enforcement offensives more effective. Following operations near the airport intersection, Delmas 19, and Nazan, the Haitian National Police are now clearing Magloire-Ambrose Street. Policier added that a large part of the administrative center of Port-au-Prince has shifted from what authorities described as a red zone to an orange zone. He stressed that operations will continue, as security forces are now moving directly into the strongholds of criminal gangs. Criminal groups had been attempting to overthrow the country's provisional government since the assassination of President Jovenel Moïse in July 2021. The United Nations has reported that thousands of people have been killed, raped, or forced to flee their homes as gangs continue to operate and seize control of large portions of the capital. The Presidential Transitional Council is continuing a national dialogue with various stakeholders, aimed at ensuring institutional stability after February 7, 2026, when the current government's mandate is scheduled to end. My next news is, Guyana's population has grown to just under 1 million people, according to new figures released by the country's Bureau of Statistics. The Bureau announced on Monday that Guyana's official population stands at 878,674 people. However, by the end of 2024, the population was recorded at 956,044. Chief Statistician Errol Lacruz said that household coverage during the census reached 89%. He attributed this to smaller household sizes, a higher number of people in employment, and what he described as the changing nature of society. He also noted an increase in migration, including undocumented migrants, some of whom may have been reluctant to engage with census officials. La Cruz said that overall, the Bureau has a high degree of confidence in the data presented. His remarks were made as President Irfan Ali received the first copy of the preliminary report of the Guyana National Population and Housing Census conducted in the year 2022. Deputy Chief Statistician and Census Officer Vanessa Prophet, presenting a snapshot of the preliminary findings, said that as of September 15, 2022, Guyana's population was 878,674. By comparison, the national census conducted in the year 2012 recorded a population of 746,955. Prophet said the latest figures represent the highest population growth rate since the Second World War. She noted that in 2012, the locally born population accounted for 98% of the total. Since then, there has been a slight increase in the foreign-born population to 3%, while the share of locally born residents has declined slightly. Finance Minister Ashni Singh said that many migrants had arrived from neighboring countries, along with investors, workers, and students. He said this trend is clearly reflected in the expansion of the foreign-born population. Singh added that a far more comprehensive preliminary report would be published on the Bureau of Statistics website, and that the final report would be released in due course. Earlier, President Ali commended the Bureau of Statistics for the diligent and successful execution of the 2022 census. He highlighted the scale and complexity of the project and reaffirmed the importance of the data collected for informed policymaking by his administration, particularly in relation to future public investment decisions. In a statement issued in 2024, the Bureau of Statistics rejected claims that delays in publishing the 2022 census results were the result of political interference. The Bureau emphasized that the legal framework guarantees its independence, with work guided by scientific principles and international statistical standards. The statement attributed the delays to considerable challenges encountered during the census process, noting that similar delays were experienced in other Caribbean countries, including Barbados, Grenada, Jamaica, Dominica, and St. Lucia. According to the Bureau, factors such as public suspicion, apathy, and post-pandemic fatigue contributed to a slower enumeration process. My next news is, A road collision involving a fuel tanker caused a massive fire in Nairobi, the capital of Kenya, on Saturday. The tanker collided with a truck, sending a large plume of black smoke into the air. Thick smoke was visible from a considerable distance as firefighters worked to contain the blaze. According to local media reports, one of the drivers involved in the collision was killed. The incident occurred along the southern bypass. Local officials have not provided further details about the collision or the condition of any other individuals involved. My next news is, Haiti's long-running political crisis deepened on Friday when the country's Transitional Presidential Council announced that it had voted to dismiss Prime Minister Alex Didier Filzam, just 2 weeks before the panel is scheduled to step down. The announcement was made by Council member Edgar LeBlanc Fils at a news conference alongside fellow member Leslie Voltaire. LeBlanc said that a majority of the panel voted on Thursday to remove Filzam, defying calls from the United States government to maintain leadership stability in the Caribbean country. No other council members attended the news conference. The United States State Department said in a statement on Thursday that keeping Filzam in office was integral to Haiti's efforts to combat gangs terrorizing the nation, and warned that any politicians supporting violent gangs would face severe consequences. LeBlanc did not elaborate on the reasons why council members turned against Filzam, who was initially appointed in November 2024. However, he stated that the council plans to appoint a replacement within 30 days, with the goal of restoring security, stability, and initiating a cycle of development while correcting past mistakes. We know that the decisions we make are in the interest of the country, and our friends in the international community will have to take note of them, LeBlanc said. Voltaire emphasized that the council had originally selected Filzam and asserted that the council would also choose his successor and a new government free from foreign interference. Everyone is looking for a Haitian solution to the crisis. But when we start to find one, the international community intervenes, he said. Voltaire added that while Filzam demonstrated capacity and enthusiasm, the population was not receiving the services it needed. The council, which is nearing the end of its mandate, stressed that it wants the second half of its term to be managed by a competent team. Voltaire said that if political parties and civil society cannot identify the best candidates by February 6, the council would propose a solution themselves. This announcement comes as the council faces pressure to hold general elections for the first time in a decade. Tentative dates were set for August and December this year to elect a president, the first since President Jovenel Moïse was assassinated in July 2021. Gang violence has surged since that time, with armed groups controlling an estimated 90% of Port-au-Prince and significant portions of Haiti's central region. According to the United Nations, more than 8,100 killings were reported nationwide between January and November last year, though these figures are believed to be underreported. Haiti's population is nearly 11 million. LeBlanc called on political organizations, civil society, and religious leaders to collaborate on the best way to govern Haiti after February 7, when the council's mandate ends. Author Michael Diebert warned that if the council fails to step down by that date, it could add another element of volatility and uncertainty to a country already experiencing severe violence and instability. He added that political alliances in Haiti are often transactional and subject to rapid change, suggesting further upheaval could occur in the coming weeks. Of the council's 9 members, 7 have voting powers, with 5 considered a majority. It was unclear whether the current council leader, Laurent Saint-Cyr, supported the dismissal of the prime minister. Earlier this week, Saint-Cyr opposed any actions that could undermine government stability before February 7. On Friday, a spokesman said the United States Secretary of State Marco Rubio spoke with Filzam to reaffirm U.S. support for Haiti's security and stability, emphasizing that ongoing gang violence can only be addressed through consistent, strong leadership with public backing. Rubio also stated that the council must be dissolved by February 7, without corrupt actors interfering in Haiti's path toward elected governance. My next news is, United States YouTuber iShowSpeed visited Nigeria's cultural and economic capital, Lagos, on Wednesday as part of his African tour, celebrating his 21st birthday by reaching 50 million subscribers on YouTube. The YouTube and Twitch stars tour began on December 29th, traveling through approximately 15 countries across Africa and drawing crowds at each stop, Rolling Stone magazine named him the most influential creator of 2025, while Forbes estimates his net worth at $20 million. IShowSpeed began his Lagos visit at the bustling Balogun market in the Lagos Island district, where crowds heckled him and requested money. Surrounded by bodyguards, he remarked, "What are they saying? It's like they're speaking English but a different kind of English," as he quickly left the market. He later visited Freedom Park, located on the site of a former prison, where he experienced the spicy kick of his first bite of jollof rice. Afterwards, he toured the Nike Art Gallery, a popular destination for celebrities and high-ranking political figures visiting Lagos. 24-year-old YouTuber Stephen Oluwafasayomi, known as Stevisky, told AFP at Freedom Park, "IShowSpeed is showcasing the culture, relationships, cultural differences, and food. He wants Americans to see Africa as a place they can also visit." At around 6 o'clock in the evening, or 1700 GMT, IShowSpeed, celebrating his birthday, paused his security convoy to watch his YouTube channel reach 50 million subscribers. He then celebrated by shoving his face into a cake. 18-year-old high school student Kareem Yari, speaking at the Nike Art Gallery, noted, "He may have shown some negative aspects of these countries, but that should motivate people to help, contribute and try to improve them, whether by creating businesses, raising funds, or by any other means at their disposal." The day before, IShowSpeed celebrated Senegal's Africa Cup of Nations victory in Dakar. Born in Cincinnati as Darren Jason Watkins Jr., the YouTube star began gaining traction 10 years ago, first by publishing video game content and later by posting about his travels around the world. Highlights of his Africa tour have included racing a cheetah in South Africa, playing a football match with 100 children in Angola, visiting Kenya's Maasai community, and attending the AFCON final in Morocco. My next news is, Iran's protest death toll has surpassed 5,000, as the country endures the most severe internet blackout in its history, now stretching into its third week. Activists report that the human cost of the nationwide crackdown has climbed to at least 5,002 killed. With information scarce and verification nearly impossible, the international community is left navigating a fog of violence, contested numbers, and escalating threats. The United States-based human rights activist news agency Ohkano provided the tally and noted that over 26,800 people have been detained. The Iranian government, however, has reported a significantly lower death toll of 3,117, a figure widely doubted given the regime's history of underreporting for political reasons. The near-total internet shutdown, a deliberate effort to stifle dissent and obscure the situation on the ground, has prevented independent verification by outlets such as the Associated Press. Sources indicate that activists fear many more casualties remain uncounted. U.S. military posturing and a war of words. The internal turmoil unfolds amid rising tensions with the United States. An American aircraft carrier group has moved closer to the Middle East, a deployment that President Donald Trump recently likened to an armada. Analysts from the Sofan Center in New York suggest that the buildup provides Trump with options for potential strikes. Although no direct military action has been taken, Trump had previously set red lines, including the mass execution of detainees. This week, he repeatedly claimed that Iran had halted planned hangings of 800 protesters, a claim strongly denied by Tehran. Iran denies Trump's execution claims. Iran's top prosecutor, Mohammad Moawahidi, stated on Friday that Trump's assertions were completely false. In comments carried by the judiciary's Mizan news agency, Moawahidi said, "No such number exists, nor has the judiciary made any such decision." He also hinted at internal communication discrepancies, suggesting that the foreign ministry may have relayed unverified figures during diplomatic exchanges. Moawahidi emphasized Iran's separation of powers, declaring, "We do not, under any circumstances, take instructions from foreign powers." Meanwhile, hardline clerics use state radio to launch personal attacks against Trump, calling him a yellow-faced, yellow-haired, and disgraced man. Defiance and diplomatic fury. Tehran continues to project defiance in response to international pressure. The foreign ministry expressed strong revulsion at a European Parliament resolution condemning what it described as mass killings and repression, warning of reciprocal action. The resolution had called for designating Iran's Revolutionary Guard, a key force in suppressing the protests, as a terrorist organization. As the digital blackout persists, the full scale of the crisis inside Iran is unclear. What is evident, however, is a nation caught between a violent domestic upheaval and a dangerously escalating international standoff, with the Iranian people bearing the highest cost in the shadows. My next news is in the next video. I will now play my own homegrown music and some old so-called Pan-African conscious community videos.
question or let me work this out with polite. Because when we speaking about ancient languages, what people got to understand is they have an incorrect time calculation and actually how old Egypt is. So with that being said, hold on, polite. Let me prove my point to Inky.
Okay.
With that being said, we still got to work that out. We still got to delegate that out, because I'm not saying I'm right or polite's right at this point in time. I'm talking to you. If it comes out that Egypt is actually thousands of years older than we thought, and that its ancient sacred text hasn't been deciphered, then any information allegedly gathered from that has to be thrown in the garbage. So that being said, we're talking about the oldest ancient language. Motherfucker, that doesn't even come from the source that you believe it does, because the source that you believe it does is actually thousands of years older than you think it is. So that being said, hold on, Inky. So that being said, let me talk to who the fuck I came over here to talk to. I didn't come over here to talk to you, bro. So if you keep stagnating energy, I'm gonna ask him to clip you off and let me do what I do. Now, polite, please, if you can get your frame of thought back, come back to whatever you was saying, because I didn't forgot, because I didn't have to talk to this nigga.
I'm with it. Somehow we wound up into the language conversation, and if all the ancient languages springboarded from the Medu Neter, and you asked me, is that not the case? And I said, well, I certainly don't agree with that. You then went on to assert, and I'm gonna paraphrase, well, you see, whenever I ask these questions, then all of a sudden people start saying this, that, and the other. I'm paraphrasing what you said. Then I went on to say, who are these other people you're talking about? This is the first time I've had this conversation with you. That's where I was going into that conversation with. So for me, as you're talking to me, the person you're going to be debating, I wouldn't take the standpoint that all the ancient languages springboarded from the Medu Neter, because if I came to that conclusion, then I may wind up saying things like you're saying, that the Medu Neter hasn't been decoded. But because I know languages that pre-existed the Medu Neter, that's why I can say, and those languages still being spoken today, and those languages haven't influenced the Medu Neter, and also knowing that Champollion was taught the Medu Neter by a Coptic, which means an Egyptian form of Christianity. That's where he learned it from, this Frenchman. I got the diaries of the damn Rosetta Stone guy, Champollion. This is damn diary.
I'm on that too.
Hold on. I got his diary right here. So for all of us wanting to give credit to the white man for decoding the language, read his damn diary and realize a black man is the one that taught him how to read and decipher the damn Rosetta Stone, because he realized the language was similar to the language he speaks. So, I mean, if you still want to have the debate, my brother, we can set up a weigh-in.
Oh yeah.
Hold on. We can do it next weekend if you want to do it. But what I'm telling you, brother, everybody else has their gifts and their talents in this community. I certainly don't take a debate that I know I'm going to lose. What I'm telling you is, there's no way in hell you're going to prove it's been deciphered when the guy that helped the guy that got accredited for the deciphering helped him decipher it, because the language was similar to the language he already spoke, which was Coptic. Now all we got to do is an ethnological.
I'm going to crush you on it.
Hold on. An ethnological, linguistic comparative of the Bantu languages that exist over there in Africa, in and around Egypt. We will even see that the same dialect has traveled from Kemet all the way to Ghana, as many people have the last name Amen. And no, that is not the only base for the answer, so let's not be ignorant. Oh, we found the word Amen over there. No, once we learn that in essence what philology is to people's eschatological and other theological corpuses, once we indulge in ethnological perusals of cultures, and once we indulge in linguistic comparatives, I will always have to ask you, what languages have you compared the Medu Neter with for you to say that it was never deciphered? When you say a language was never deciphered that people are using, you are saying that no languages can come close to that language, and that language is unique and indifferent from everything on planet Earth. That assertion in itself is insane, because when you study language, you can see a paper trail of influence in what's called a dialect continuum. It's called a dialect continuum. You will always see where the languages undergo harmonious morphological conks. This is when they may take vowels out and replace them with a consonant, or keep the vowels in and replace one of the consonants.
All right, now,
how philological perusals take place. This is what harmonious morphological conks are. This is why we suggest that people do an ethnological, linguistic, comparative study, particularly in this case of Bantu languages stemming from West Africa going east, and in some instances, east going west after the influence has already taken place. Now, again, when you say the Medu Neter has not been deciphered, you are saying that there is no other language on planet Earth that can come remotely close to that language, and those people are isolated from the rest of the world, which we know is not true when we talk about ancient Egypt. You're saying those people in ancient Egypt, as much cultural diffusion took place, that they still wind up after thousands of years to have a language separate and different from everybody else on planet Earth. It is insane.
Can I jump in now? Now listen. Now let me prove my premises
I'm
now.
ready for the weigh-in.
Listen, I'm ready. Let me ask you a question now. Okay, now hold on, because I got the sniper on you. You don't even know. You ran outside. You ran outside with your shotgun, and I got the sniper on. Now listen to this, because you done ran into this right here. You know what I mean? You threw the hook, I slipped. Now here comes the Tyson right. Here we go. So the Medu Neter has been deciphered. Yes or no?
Yes.
Okay, now let me kill you. Bang. Here we go. So according to the alleged successful decipherment of the Medu Neter comes the story of Khufu, right? Not only Khufu, but his son Khafre. Now, according to the alleged deciphered text, Khufu and his son Khafre built today what is known as the pyramid and the Sphinx. Now, why is this important? Because the pyramid and the Sphinx is a minimum of 20,000 years older than them motherfuckers. So if the Medu Neter was successfully deciphered, why does the alleged translated stories not match the age of the structures that they was allegedly deciphered off? Now, hold on. Hold on. I'm not done now.
I'm gonna answer your question.
I'm not done now. Hold on, I'm not done. So if it was deciphered, that's like if I spray paint on my motherfucking wall, okay, and somebody comes say, man, this shit say 0. Motherfucker, if I did the spray paint last week and this house is 50 years old, how the fuck did you successfully translate the alleged story of the builder of the house when the spray paint on the house is 50 years newer than the goddamn foundation? So when we say the Medu Neter has been deciphered, that's cute, but why the fuck don't the stories match the age of the temples of the people who allegedly wrote them?
Let me ask you a question. In scholarship, the problem you're having is called an anachronism. An anachronism is when you misappropriate dates with times to either suit an agenda or just by mere error in itself, and other people adopt the error and propagate the misinformation. You are not having a problem with the language. You're having a problem with an anachronism, which is a misappropriation of dates with time.
So you're telling me it's a lie. Wait, is the story true?
Stop, real quick. Stop. Let me ask you a question. When someone becomes popular, do people name their children after that same popular person?
I mean, they might. I don't know.
Okay, let's do it like this. Is there only one Muhammad on planet Earth right now?
No.
Is there only one Michael, or is Michael a very popular word?
I mean, I would have to say yes. I mean, I don't know.
Okay, well, guess what? Khufu did big things, and so did Khafre. Is it possible that 20,000 years later, someone could have named someone after the pioneers of the community?
That would be possible if the fucking story didn't say that they the ones who built it. Because I'm gonna hit you with this gas. What you were saying would be true if they didn't fictitiously present mummified remains. They grab. Hold on, let me go. I'm hot right now. The motherfucking Pharaoh about to jump off this goddamn motherfucking this board behind. So that being said, that would be true what you're saying if they didn't fictitiously try to present physical evidence in the form of mummified remains. They didn't say that these people were named after their predecessors. They said, here's a goddamn dead body of a person who built this motherfucking structure, and this person built this structure during this specific dynasty. So now when we do the comparison to the age of the structure and the person that built it, we find out that the structure is damn near 20,000 years older than this dead motherfucker right here that we saying built it. So with that being said, when we say the Medu Neter has been deciphered, either that motherfucker is a complete lie, okay, made the fuck up, or somebody accidentally have created fictitious stories which are 20,000 years off the mark in regards to the alleged manufacturing and creation of the buildings that they're supposed to be about creating. So I have a hard time believing that a nigga accidentally found a mummy and said that this mummy created this pyramid and this Sphinx during the 4th century, during the 4th dynasty, I believe, if not correct me. But with that being said, during a specific time frame in BCE, so about 4,000 years ago from today. And then when we do the geological research on the structure, we find out this structure is damn near 16,000 to 20,000 years older than the motherfucker who allegedly created it. So when we say the Meta Necha has been deciphered, did they decipher a motherfucking lie? Do you decipher a lie? Did you accidentally find out a lie?
Now let's see if we can decipher the lies you're putting forth. Hold on real quick. Hold on real fast. Hold on real fast. So here we pull up the harbor of Khufu on the Red Sea coast at Wadi El Jarf, Egypt, NEA. The harbor of Khufu on the Red Sea coast at Wadi El Jarf, Egypt. And here we see, after a decade of investigation of the Red Sea coast at Ain Sukna, Suez area, in the southern Sinai Peninsula, in the northern part of the Eastern Desert, Wadi Araba, a joint team university, Paris, Sorbonne, and the French Institute in Cairo discovered a new harbor complex from the Old Kingdom of Wadi al-Jarf in 2008. The site is located on the western coast of the Gulf of Suez, about 20 kilometers south of the modern town Zafarana. It is situated approximately 100 kilometers south of Ain Sukna, another anchorage age point at pharaonic times of the Red Sea shore, which was used regularly during the second half of the Old Kingdom and the Middle Kingdom from 2550 to 1700 BC. Probably brought into the operation during the reign of King Sneferu. That's 4th dynasty, brother. And particularly used by expeditions under King Khufu. You see the dates there. 2580 to 2550 BCE. The site of Wadi El Jarf was apparently occupied exclusively at very beginning of the 4th dynasty in order to reach by boat the Sinai Peninsula, the main mining area operated by the ancient Egyptians. It is situated exactly opposite the contemporary coastal fortress, which has recently been identified on the western coast of the Sinai at El Marka, C. Mumford, 2006, on the other side of the Gulf of Suez, in an area where the stretch of the sea does not exceed 50 kilometers in width. From this point of disembarkation, the royal expeditions which had departed from the Wadi El Jarf harbor reached the copper of turquoise mines in the southwestern part of the peninsula, particularly the Wajid Magara region, attested by the official inscriptions of Sneferu and Khufu found in the area. See Gardner, Pete Cerny, 1952, North degrees 5 to 7, PL 2 to 4. The port facilities of Wadi El Jarf are quite extensive and multipolar. They cover an area of ca 6 kilometers, 3.7 miles from west to east from the first foothills of the mountains of Eastern Desert, southern Gebel Galala, to the shore of the Red Sea. It is possible to observe from west to east the following components: inland and in the immediate proximity of an essential water spring. Okay, it says there's a vast complex of storage galleries carved in the limestone hills, a warehouse system that is comparable to those that have recently been discovered in the 2 other Egyptian port sites presently known, Ain Sukna, 10 galleries, and Mersa Gawasa. There are 30 galleries here, 19 of them being arranged around small rocky promontory, while 10 others are carved on one side of a small wadi with a northern orientation. In case it was possible to recognize the entrances to the remains of the complex, a massive closing system that access to local production, courts, containers, and cooking or serving wares. See Marit forthcoming. However, the repository of types is dominated by the overwhelming presence of thousands of large globalist storage jars found in all parts of the site and also at Al Marka Fortress on the opposite shore of the Gulf of Suez, as well as in some of the earliest occupation levels at Akin Suna. Now, I will give you the opportunity to screenshot the rest, because the question is, Mr. Pharaoh, where the heck did you get the story from about Khufu and Khafre making these structures 20,000 years apart? What is your point of reference? Because when we go down...
No, don't say that. I didn't say they made them 20,000 years apart.
Right. What did you say?
I said the alleged translation of the Meta Necha in regards to it being read off a stele, that the stele allegedly once being deciphered, said that Khufu and Khafre built the Great Pyramid and the Sphinx. This alleged translation is incorrect because they could not have built it because the structures are at least 16 to 20,000 years older than them. And now this is how I put the knife in your chest, because Egypt is allegedly a desert land. So
what's the name of the stela that you're talking about?
I'll give it to you, and I'm gonna get the book. If I gotta get, or if you want to do the Meta Necha not been deciphered debate, we can say the rest of the debate. So it's up to you. But I will say this.
I just want to know where the hell you get the idea from.
I will say this. We can prove that the pyramids, right, are older than the alleged stories and the alleged mummies in regards to who allegedly built them, because it's been confirmed by over 250 actual geologists who actually went to the pyramids that they had to pump millions of gallons of water out of the basements of these, not just the pyramids of the Great Sphinx, but other surrounding temples, which today water damage can still be seen as present due to a river that no longer exists and dried up a minimum of 12,000 years ago. So with that being said, unless, hold on, because there's no water over there today, it's desert. So unless Khufu and Khafre ass was on some boats building floating pyramids, okay, on water, then they could not have been ever responsible for the building of these structures. So that being said, the Meta Neter could not have been deciphered because according to the Meta Neter, these two alleged African entities built these structures. But these structures themselves, due to geological evidence, have been proven to have built outside of their lifespan by thousands of years. So we're not jacking the Meta Neter at all. And I'll grab the book. I'll grab the book.
No problem, Pharaoh. I need you to understand something, my brother. And what you're telling me is you have paleontology discrepancies, maybe. You have problems with anachronisms, maybe.
I have
but hold on. But you're not telling me linguistic issues. You're telling me a story doesn't match up with a date or time. What does that do to mean something hasn't been deciphered? You're only talking about the story because the shit been deciphered.
No.
If someone messes up on a date or a time, that doesn't mean the language hasn't been deciphered. That means someone messed up on a date and a time. I don't understand the logic of omitting the language the story comes from because the paleontology is inaccurate, or there's an anachronism placed there, maybe to suit an agenda, which would tell us to study philology, which is when you see if the times and dates are in conformity with the language that's being transmitted or used as a medium to communicate with the people doing the studying.
Now let me get you with this game. Hold on, didn't you get on it? Okay, go ahead.
Hold on. In no instance does any scholar say omit the language because there's an inconsistency with a date, a time, or a person's name. No one says the language must not have been deciphered because the time doesn't match up with a date or the person's name doesn't match up with the time that they was accredited for a situation. Do you realize you're telling us to ignore the language of our ancestors because you disagree with a date, a time, or an incident that had took place? Or do you realize that's what you're saying?
Let me answer that question. Do you realize that I also have tribal proof that there's an... You said I'm ignoring our ancestors' language. Do you realize that I have proof of an African tribe who were never displaced from Egypt for 65,000 years, and the head of that tribe has already confirmed the inconsistencies in the teachings of Egyptology and have confirmed that they are not of African root, for one. And then for two, don't we get in the Hebrew ass because we tell the Hebrews that it's not no dates? Well, I'm not done. We tell the Hebrews, no disrespect to my Hebrew brothers, we get in the Hebrew ass all day because we tell them it's not no goddamn dates in that book in regards to the stories it tells. So we find inconsistencies in regards to the time frame of events that these actions could have taken place. The Meta Neter is not exempt. Kemetic niggas are not exempt from being exposed to the lies that they have told due to the inconsistencies or the absences or the miscalculations of the dates and times in regards to their stories that they allege to tell. If I tell a motherfucker I went to the store yesterday at 5 o'clock and I write it in a book, and goddamn it, you watch the camera and the camera show I never went to the store, we cannot accredit some form of truth to the story because a European wrote it in a book predicated upon a language that he created. The Rosetta Stone, if we want to keep it a buck, has never even been chemically tested. So you don't even know if that motherfucker is real. So
what
that
hold on, stop.
I'm not done. Let me prove my point. Even when we're dealing with the material that the Rosetta Stone is made out of, Egyptians were not building their monumental structures out of that material. So
out of what material? Limestone?
I'm not done. Listen, I'll go there. We can put up the debate.
I'm asking you out of what material?
Hold on. Listen, all you got to do is tell me that we doing the Meta Neter has not been deciphered debate.
I asked you to confirm Saturday next week.
Listen, it's confirmed. Hold on. Let me see my show.
I asked you to confirm, not this Saturday, next Saturday.
Let me go on my calendar. Let me check my.
While you go on your calendar, let me share something with everybody. Because I know y'all was like, what the hell is all of that you reading, Polite? I just want you to get some reading material, because what we tend to do is skim through information and share it with
Reply.
Hold on, real quick, brother. I have to read this part because it wasn't finished. I read the first part so he could dig himself into a deeper hole, because this is how I play chess. Now I'm going to read the second part so it can all make sense for people, because I'm just asking him, where's he getting the information from? He don't have to ask me that. I can show him, here's an example of where I'm getting information from, and then we can look up the people who's presenting the information. Simple stuff. Now watch this. That's why I asked him, what material are they using? Now you start backpedaling. He don't want to tell me what type of material.
I told you I got the book. I told you I got the book right over here.
With the material you was talking about. Do you even know?
Listen, B, which material? We talking about the stories? We talking about where am I getting information?
You're the one that's doing the talking. You saying that? Hold on. You saying that the materials they're accredited for using to build these structures, they didn't even have at that time.
No, I didn't say that. I didn't say they didn't have. I said the Egyptians did not use the material that they used to build their monumental structures out of the same material that was used to make that Rosetta Stone. That's what I said.
Okay, and then I went on to ask, what is the material you're talking about? And then you start.
No, I told you I will answer that if we do a debate. I will not.
No problem. Let me share this thing. Let me share this thing. This is very important, people. You just need to understand why I do what I do. But what I read prior should have did something for you. But here we go on page 10, just so you know. The harbor of Khufu on the Red Sea coast at Wadi El Jarf, Egypt. People can look it up themselves. NEA 77/1. Please, you can even download it. It's right over here. The most surprising is that this document in the section that has been best preserved does not report anything about the activity of this group on the site of Wadi El Jarf, where Merer obviously intervened at some point. Over a period of several months, it reports in form of a timetable with 2 columns per day, many operations related to the construction of the Great Pyramid of Khufu at Giza and the work at the limestone quarries on the opposite bank of the Nile. On a regular basis, there are also decisions concerning on the Nile and connected canals of stone blocks which have been extracted from the northern and southern quarries of Tua, R3W, Risi, and R-3W.